I think it is important to see and to say that the violence which emerged in the few cities, that I think 5 or 6 that we've had it in, came mainly from a very small group. This did not represent anything like the vast majority of the Negro community.
As a result of World War II, Americans began to see racism as evil. After seeing that racism had contributed to the rise of Hitler and the Holocaust, many citizens began to recognize that racism had no place in the U.S. And because African Americans fought for freedom in Europe, they wanted to have some of that freedom at home as well. In 1896, the case of Plessy versus Ferguson declared the constitutionality of racial segregation in public facilities under the doctrine of separate but equal. But in 1954, the case of Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka ended segregation in public schools across America. In the case of Brown too, the court ordered all schools to be desegregated, but many still resisted.
I was arrested on December 1st, 1955 for refusing to stand up on the orders of the bus driver after the white seats had been occupied in the front. And of course I was not in the front of the bus as many people had ridden and spoken that I got on the bus and took a front seat, but I did not.
In response to Rosa Parks' arrest, many African Americans boycotted the public transportation system of Montgomery, Alabama, and protests called the Montgomery Bus Boycott. This action took place from December 1955 to December 20th, 1956, after the federal ruling Browder v. Gale took effect.
%80 of Americans opposed the segregation of schools in the U.S. Racist groups such as the Ku Klux Klan used beatings, arson, and murder, such as lynching, to threaten people who were for civil rights.
In 1957, the school board of Little Rock, Arkansas, made plans to integrate and accepted 9 African American students to enroll in Little Rock Central High School that September. The governor of Arkansas, Orville Faubus, sided with the segregationist citizens and brought the National Guard to prevent the students from entering. But, to counter, President Eisenhower sent the 101st Airborne Division to protect the students. In the end, all 9 of the students made it into the school safely. In February 1960, 4 black college students ordered coffee at a lunch counter in Greenboro, North Carolina. When the waitress wouldn't serve them because of their race, they began a sit-in at the counter. For the first day, they stayed for 45 minutes. They came back every day, each with more and more followers with them, and by the end, they had hundreds of black and white protesters right at the counter. This is an example of one of the many sit-ins that took progress over the civil rights era. In the next few weeks, thousands of protesters took part in sit-ins all across the South. Protesters were abused with ammonia, itching powder, and profanities. They were beat, burned with cigarettes, and sent to jail, but this did not crush their spirit. Because of these protests, the SNCC and the SCLC pressured for change in the 1960s.